There's a hospital room in Madeira, Portugal, and inside it, a mother is holding a baby she almost didn't want. She'd tried to end the pregnancy. Money was that tight. The abortion medication didn't work. And so, on February 5, 1985, a boy was born into a two-room house with a tin roof, in a neighborhood so poor that some homes still didn't have running water. Nobody in that room knew they were holding the future greatest athlete on the planet. They just knew there was one more mouth to feed. That boy would grow up to break scoring records that experts called unbreakable. He would be called selfish, arrogant, too intense, too much. And he would prove every single doubter wrong, one goal at a time, for over 2 decades. This is the story of Cristiano Ronaldo. Not the billboard, not the underwear ad, the boy underneath all of it, the one who almost didn't survive childhood, who was nearly cut from professional football because doctors thought his heart might kill him, and who turned rage and hunger into the most relentless career in the history of sports. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you'll understand why grown men cry when they talk about this man's story. Madeira is a small volcanic island off the coast of Portugal, beautiful from a distance, brutal up close if you're poor. And Cristiano's family was poor. His father, Dennis, worked as a gardener and kit man for a local football club, drinking most nights to numb whatever pain he carried. His mother, Dolores, cooked and cleaned in other people's homes just to keep her 4 children fed. There were nights the family ate only pasta with ketchup, because that's what they could afford. There was a stretch where they lived in a home so small that the kids shared a single room, where the shower was a shared bucket, and where Cristiano would later say the sound of nightly arguments over money became background noise. He was named after Ronald Reagan. His father admired the American president's role in Rocky and thought the name had a nice ring to it. Nobody in that house imagined the name Ronaldo would one day be recognized in over 100 countries without translation. As a boy, Cristiano was wiry, small for his age, and obsessed, completely, uncontrollably obsessed, with a ball at his feet. He'd play in the streets, on dirt patches, anywhere with enough flat ground for a game. Neighbors remember him staying out until dark, refusing to come in for dinner, because there was always one more shot to take, one more move to perfect. Teachers remember a boy who couldn't sit still in a classroom, but transformed the moment he stepped onto a pitch. At 10 years old, he was so talented that Nacional, a professional club in Madeira, signed him to their youth academy. But even then, he wasn't the biggest kid, or the strongest. What set him apart was something coaches couldn't teach, a temper that turned every loss into fuel, and a refusal to accept that anyone was better than him. He'd cry after losses, not soft tears, but the kind of frustration that comes from a kid who genuinely believed he should never lose. Teammates thought he was arrogant. He wasn't. He was terrified of being ordinary. At 12, everything changed. Sporting Clube de Portugal, one of the country's biggest clubs, invited him to trial in Lisbon. To get there, his family had to send him alone, hundreds of miles from home, to live in a dormitory with boys from wealthier families who mocked his Madeiran accent and his island upbringing. He was homesick in a way that broke something in him. He'd later describe crying himself to sleep, missing his mother's cooking, missing the ocean, missing everything familiar. Some nights he called home just to hear his family's voices. And then, at 15, doctors found something wrong with his heart. A racing heartbeat that wouldn't calm down. A condition that, left untreated, could have ended not just his career, but potentially his life. He needed surgery, laser surgery, to correct the abnormality, performed while he stayed conscious, wide awake, aware of every second of it. Imagine being a teenager, thousands of miles from home, told that the one thing that made you feel alive, running, playing, competing, might be the very thing that kills you. He had the surgery. He recovered in days, not weeks, and shocked doctors by asking when he could train again. That single moment says almost everything about who Cristiano Ronaldo would become. Most people, told their heart might fail them, would slow down. He sped up. By 16, he'd made his debut for Sporting's senior team. By 17, he was a fixture. And in 2003, a Manchester United side, including Sir Alex Ferguson, traveled to Lisbon for a friendly match. Ronaldo, playing against them, tore the United defense apart so completely that United's own players walked into the locker room afterward and told their manager, "Sign him now." Ferguson agreed. Manchester United paid what was then a staggering fee for a teenager, and Cristiano Ronaldo left Portugal for England at 18 years old, carrying a family's hopes and a nation's expectations on a frame that still hadn't fully grown into itself. Here's the part people forget. He wasn't an instant superstar. English fans and pundits mocked him mercilessly in his first seasons. He was seen as flashy, a show-off obsessed with step-overs and tricks instead of end product. Sports commentators openly questioned whether he'd ever amount to anything more than a highlight reel gimmick. He was booed. He was criticized in the papers weekly. Rival fans chanted insults about his hair, his tan, his theatrics. And underneath all of it, tragedy struck. In September 2005, Cristiano's father, Denise, died from complications related to years of alcoholism. He was only 52. Cristiano had tried, quietly, to help his father get treatment in London, but addiction doesn't respond to money or love the way we wish it would. Cristiano played matches that same season while grieving a father who never got to see what his son would become, never saw the trophies, the records, the statues built in his son's honor. Those close to him say this loss lit something even darker and more determined inside him, a need to become undeniable, immortal, so big that failure was no longer an option. He channeled it into obsession. Teammates at United described a young man who stayed after every single training session, alone, practicing free kicks for hours after everyone else had gone home. He'd film his own technique, study it, break it down, rebuild it. He transformed his body in the gym, adding muscle, speed, and explosive power that hadn't been there before. He asked coaches for extra shooting drills. He treated rest days like an inconvenience. By 2007 and 2008, the joke was over. Ronaldo had become the most feared attacking player in world football. In the 2007-08 season, he scored 42 goals in all competitions, won the Premier League, and lifted the Champions League trophy after United beat Chelsea on penalties in Moscow, a final where Ronaldo, ironically, missed a penalty in the shootout, then had to stand and watch his teammates fight to save the trophy anyway. That season, he won his first Ballon d'Or, the award given to the best footballer on the planet. The boy who ate pasta with ketchup, who was mocked for his accent, who buried his father mid-season, was now officially the best player alive. In 2009, Real Madrid paid a world record transfer fee to bring him to Spain, a number so large it dominated headlines for weeks. The pressure that came with that price tag would have crushed most players. Ronaldo, unfazed, made it look like motivation. Over 9 seasons in Madrid, he became the club's all-time leading scorer, a title that seemed almost impossible given the legends who'd worn that jersey before him. He won the Champions League 4 times with Real Madrid, including 3 in a row, a feat unmatched in the competition's modern era. He won 4 more Ballon d'Or awards during his time in Spain. He broke goal-scoring record after goal-scoring record, some so absurd that broadcasters had to build entirely new graphics just to display them. But the story isn't just trophies. It's the countless nights he stayed after training, long after his teammates left. It's the strict, almost monk-like discipline around sleep, diet, and recovery that he maintained for over 2 decades, allowing him to compete at an elite level well into his late 30s, an age when most athletes have long since retired. Sports scientists who studied his body composition called it closer to that of a man half his age. That wasn't luck. That was thousands of hours nobody filmed. And through all of it, there was rivalry, the kind that captivated the entire sporting world. Lionel Messi, quiet and understated, emerged in Barcelona as Ronaldo's polar opposite in personality and playing style. For over a decade, the two pushed each other to heights neither might have reached alone, trading Ballon d'Or trophies back and forth, breaking each other's records, forcing fans across the globe to pick a side. It became bigger than football. It became a debate about greatness itself. Off the pitch, Ronaldo's life carried its own weight of scrutiny. He became a father for the first time in 2010, to his son Cristiano Jr., raising him largely as a single parent in the public eye, refusing to disclose details about the birth mother, out of respect for her privacy, a decision that drew both criticism and admiration. Later, he and his partner, Georgina Rodriguez, a Spanish-Argentine model he met while working at a Gucci store in Madrid, built a blended family together, including twins born via surrogate and later a daughter. In 2022, tragedy struck again. One of Georgina's twins, a son, died shortly after birth, a loss the couple shared publicly, revealing a vulnerability rarely seen from a man so often reduced to a highlight reel. He's also faced real controversy, and any honest telling has to include it. In 2018, allegations surfaced from a woman named Catherine Mayorga, who accused Ronaldo of sexual assault dating back to a 2009 incident in Las Vegas. Ronaldo has consistently denied the allegations. The case was eventually dismissed by a U.S. court on procedural grounds in 2022. That same year, 2018, Spanish tax authorities pursued Ronaldo for underreporting income. He agreed to pay a substantial settlement and accepted a suspended prison sentence, a resolution common in Spain for high-profile tax cases, but one that still damaged his public image. Later, a heated television interview in which he openly criticized Manchester United's ownership and coaching staff led to the abrupt termination of his second stint at the club in 2022, a messy, public end to a chapter that once defined him. Here's something most fans don't know. Ronaldo has been a blood and organ donor advocate for years, but he's never actually able to donate blood himself because of the frequency of medical testing professional athletes undergo. Instead, he's used his platform to encourage millions of fans to donate in his place. Another lesser-known fact, he doesn't drink alcohol at all, a decision reportedly tied directly to watching what alcoholism did to his father. He's also never gotten a tattoo, unusual for a modern athlete, specifically so he could donate blood if he were ever able to. And despite earning hundreds of millions of dollars, those close to him describe someone who still eats simply, trains obsessively, and treats an off day like a personal failure. His generosity, largely undisclosed until journalists or hospital staff revealed it years later, is staggering. He's donated to children's hospitals in Portugal and beyond, quietly paid for strangers' medical treatments, and after his early academy days at Sporting, funded the renovation of the very hospital ward where he underwent his teenage heart surgery. When a young fan battling cancer wrote to him, he showed up in person. No cameras, no announcement. In 2016, wearing the Portugal jersey, he suffered a brutal knee injury just 25 minutes into the European Championship final and had to be carried off the pitch in tears, believing his chance at the one trophy that had eluded him, international glory, was slipping away in real time. Instead of leaving, he stayed on the sideline in a coaching bib, screaming instructions, consoling teammates, refusing to let his body's failure become his team's failure. Portugal won that final in extra time. Ronaldo, who couldn't play the last hour of the biggest match of his life, was still on the field celebrating, sobbing, when the final whistle blew. It remains Portugal's only major international trophy. In 2023, in a move that stunned the football world, Ronaldo left European football entirely, signing with Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia for a staggering salary, becoming the face of a broader effort to elevate the sport's profile in the region. Critics called it a step down. Ronaldo, characteristically, called it a new chapter, continuing to break scoring records well into his 40s in a league many hadn't taken seriously before he arrived. By any measure, the numbers alone are almost hard to believe. Over 900 career goals for club and country, more than any player in the history of the sport. 5 Ballon d'Or awards, 5 Champions League titles, domestic league titles in 3 different countries, England, Spain, and Saudi Arabia. Hundreds of millions of social media followers, more than almost any human being alive, athlete or otherwise. But numbers were never really the point. The point was a boy from a 2-room house in Madeira who was told in 100 different ways across his life that he wasn't enough, not rich enough, not big enough, not talented enough, not disciplined enough to matter, and who decided every single day for over 20 years to prove that wrong one more time. What makes this story worth telling isn't the trophies sitting in a case somewhere. It's the empty training ground at midnight, when a heartbroken teenager who just lost his father chose to practice free kicks instead of go to sleep. It's a grieving new father raising a baby alone while the entire world watched and judged. It's a man in his late 30s, still outrunning defenders half his age because he refused to let his body, or his story, end on someone else's terms. Cristiano Ronaldo's legacy was never really about being the greatest of all time, even though the debate will rage on forever. It's about what obsession, discipline, and refusing to accept no can build out of almost nothing. A kid with a bad heart and a broken home became one of the most recognizable human beings on earth, not because life handed him anything, but because he refused, over and over, to let life's verdict be the final one. Somewhere in Madeira right now, there's a kid playing on a dirt patch after dark, refusing to go home for dinner, chasing a ball nobody else believes matters. Maybe that's the next impossible story. You just never know until somebody refuses to quit. If this story moved you even a little, that's exactly why we tell it. So hit that like button, subscribe if you want more true stories that hit this hard, and drop a comment telling us who we should cover next. We'll see you in the next one.